Now, Sep, I'd like you to start telling us about Steve Berger. You don't have to tell us his entire story, but tell us, you met Steve. Go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Sep, and well, to be honest, I met a few survivors before I interviewed Mr. Steve, and it was a privilege, but none of them talked about their experiences. None of them, they couldn't bring themselves to the point to tell me what happened. So when I saw the internship, I was like, I have to take it. So one of the things that like truly touched me in this interview was how you explained the experiences of being in the cattle. What happened was when Germany attacked Hungary and they put all the Jews in the cattle to move them to the concentration camps. I read that story like before in books and like different books and everything since I'm a history major, but I really didn't understand how they felt, how it was, what it meant to be in those cattle, in the train, going somewhere that you had no idea where you were going. You didn't know what to expect. They were standing like maybe hundreds of them like standing in one train without being able to move. And you had older, elderly people, you had young people, you had infants that were crying. And while you were explaining that to me, I just had this flashback to standing once in a train and this baby was crying non-stop. And like probably like most of you have taken F or U train from 71st Continental to Queen's Plaza. It's just like, it's not a long ride. It's like less than probably 5 minutes. And the whole time the baby was crying and like literally everyone felt so uncomfortable. People like, they wanted to leave the train, like they didn't know how to stop the baby. People like were, I feel like babies crying are such a horrifying experience. Like it really moved the person. Just imagine being in the train, having the baby crying, people like standing there for 3 days hungry, starving, thirsty, not being able to see it, elderly people not being, like people need to use a restroom and there is no facilities. And the other thing that like really impacted me was how strongly you stand up to the SS and told them that you want to be with your family. What happened was after the train changed the destination. They needed workers, so they take one wagon to Austria to use them as a worker, and they ask who knows how to work with the machines, and Steve raised his hand, and they told him to move to the corner of the room, and he said that he's not moving without his family. I'm thinking if a police officer, even like during a time of peace, come and put his hand on the gun and says, move, I move, no question asked. He just stood there and says like, I'm not moving without my family. It really estimates to his courage and his strength.
Steve, let me ask you a question. Now you met Sep, and you heard her, and you've gone through. What was your reaction to her?
Well, every time I meet with students, I always impress on them that the next generations of victims are always those who neglect to study and heed history. Matter of fact, if I would have the power, every politician who runs for office would have a PhD in history. It's so important because history keeps repeating itself. Different people, different places, but essentially is the same thing. And when I meet with young people who want to hear these stories, and remember. Because these are the future generations who will be following us. We survivors don't survive forever. There will be a time when we won't be here. But the story has to keep growing. The story has to be told all the time, because the people have to remember, just for their own sake, because if they know what can happen, maybe they can prevent it.
Steve, I want to add one thing. Steve tends to be very shy, and I gave him some very good news when he walked in today. During the spring semester, we had a group of teachers come in here from around the country. They were part of a traveling program, and they asked to come to visit the Holocaust Center, and we did, and we took them through, and we did a presentation. And very happily, a week later, I got a call from one of the instructors from a college campus in Mississippi saying, can you give us one of those survivors you talked about? We'd like to bring them down here to speak to the students on our campus, because they've never heard about the Holocaust. Now, it's Mississippi. And I said, of course, and I told them which one. And when Steve walked through the door today, I said, I want you to wait till after the program. I want to connect you with the people in Mississippi, because he's going to be down there. And we thank you so much, both of you. Thank you. Okay.